All right, let's move straight to our next conversation. Now, the finality of a judicial pronouncement often brings an end to protracted political disputes. This is the case in Edo State, as the Supreme Court has brought the legal battle over the September 21, 2024 governorship election to a definitive close by affirming the victory of Governor Monday Okpebholo. Nearly 6 months after the polls, the Apex Court delivered its verdict on the matter. In a unanimous ruling led by Justice Mohammed Garba, the court dismissed the appeal filed by the PDP candidate Aso Ighodalo, citing a lack of merit. The judgment reaffirms the earlier decisions of both the Court of Appeal and the Election Petition Tribunal. According to the court, the appellant failed to provide credible evidence to substantiate claims of electoral irregularities, thereby solidifying Governor Okpebholo's mandate. All right, congratulations to the Edo State governor and also to the people of Edo State. But, BK, I'll start with you. First of all, what were the things considered by the Supreme Court, by the court, before it came to this conclusion?
See, when there is concurrence at every level of our courts, rarely do you find the Apex Court go against the decisions of those lower courts. There was concurrence at the State Election Petitions Tribunal, and there was concurrence between the State Election Petitions Tribunal as well as the Appeals Tribunal. And in both cases, Governor Okpebholo won by unanimous decision. There was no dissenting judgment at the lower tribunal, at the Appeals Tribunal. It was 3-3 in both courts. At the Supreme Court, it was again 5-0. There must have been a reason for this, because we've been following developments in election petitions in our country. Rarely do you see this happen, especially in cases that are hotly contested. So basically, the court affirmed that the appellant failed to adduce credible, admissible evidence to substantiate his claims that the election was rigged, full of irregularities, and conducted in substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act. So the candidate of the PDP complained about voting, especially in some of the densely populated parts of the state. But as we have seen from the judgment delivered in the lower tribunals, you cannot dump evidence on the judges. You must speak to the documents that you brought to court. You can't simply dump those documents, the quantum of evidence that you have on the court. You must speak to it. You must bring witnesses that will speak to those relevant evidence that you have brought. So in this case, especially in support of his case about the beavers, beavers machines, he did not bring witnesses to demonstrate to the tribunals and to the how exactly the beavers machines were manipulated. You are not going to wait for the tribunal to do that for you. That is your own job. The lawyer must lead the witness in evidence, and the witness must show exactly how the beavers machines were manipulated to enable Governor Okpebholo to show that Governor Okpebholo did not win the election. Once you fail to do that, it is injurious to your case. And then, of course, the matter of non-compliance substantially with the Electoral Act in 432 out of 4,519 polling stations in the state was also not proven before the tribunals. You must, if you are saying that in 432 out of 4,519 polling centers there were irregularities, how many witnesses did you bring?
Exactly.
Did you conclusively prove these irregularities to before the judges? And that's why Justice Mohammed Garuba affirmed that the appellant did not satisfactorily discharge the burden of proof placed on him by the law. So I knew all along that it would end here. From the first tribunal, once I listened to the judgment of the State Electoral Petitions Tribunal, I knew that it would be difficult, if not impossible, because the case was bad ab initio, especially the inability, the decision to dump
the evidence,
documents on the court rather than speak to the evidence that you brought before the court. So I will appeal to Governor Okpebholo to listen to what the president said, that he has to govern the state like the father of all, and he has to he shouldn't punish anyone for not supporting him or for trying to win the case against him in court. He is now everyone's father.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy with the progress being made. On Monday, he's going to launch the Edo line. He has revitalized. It took him just 100 days to bring Edo line back to life, the famous Edo line that was dead. And even former Governor Shomole said this was something that he tried to do in 8 years and he couldn't do. But this new governor has been able to resuscitate Edo line, and on Monday it will be launched by the FCT minister. So he's doing his work, and now that he has won at the Supreme Court, I'm confident that he'll be able to face the job of running that state squarely, delivering new roads, delivering infrastructure across the length and breadth of the state.
All right then. Now, Kaide, having now exhausted all legal channels, what's next for the PDP in Edo State? Is it to regroup and accept defeat like sportsmen?
Do they have a choice? One funny thing, I want to assume, it's an assumption, that even Governor Okpebholo probably read that judgment the way BK has read it. Because the way he celebrated the tribunal and the appeal court, I was wondering that, is this man aware that this is still likely to go to Supreme Court? But probably because he has looked at it that it's not just 3-0, but the fact that his opponent does not have a strong case. So for me, I think it's not coming as a surprise. And I don't also want to believe that at any point in time, the governor was distracted. He has actually faced governance, and at the previous, stages, it was not even 2 against 1 that will give him sleepless night. So, and when you're dealing with that apex court, it is what has happened that they want to look at.
Exactly.
You understand? Not that you're bringing fresh evidence and issues like that. So it is not surprising. So for me, I think Okpebholo should listen to what the president has admonished him, think like a leader, accommodate a voice of dissent, and put everything into focus. For PDP, I think PDP has a long way to go in the sense that the man who has left was not much of a party man, talking about Obaseki. So it may not be a rallying point for PDP to get his house in order. So they may need to fall back and re-strategize and see how things will go. But, you know, it might also be difficult with what PDP is going through now, being decimated. Some are joining ADC. And you even have, like, Wike, who is more like one of the leaders in the region, you know, fully behind this governor. In fact, I just read that he has even sent a congratulatory message to this governor. So, will PDP have a say in the region, not just in Edo State? Trust me, there's work for them to be done. There's no more Okoa in PDP. And whichever way.
I mean, Paul, just in rounding off this conversation, now with this ruling, do you think this will embolden the APC, you know, ahead of the 2027 election, especially in the South?
It definitely will. It definitely will, because it's simply what the Supreme Court has done is to confirm that yes, the man actually won the election, because, you know, like VKO said, the evidence that was brought by the PDP was not strong enough. I think a lot of people don't know. A lot of people have failed to know that a court is not actually an investigative agency. A court is not a fact-finding panel. A court is only bound by the evidence you bring before it. So if you allege that Mr. Paul Dada has done this, done that, the burden is for you to prove it. The court will not go and be shopping for evidence. So the court is bound by the electoral law in this, electoral acts in this case. And so that's about that. So APC can smile and say, look, yes, this means we are accepted. But it's also a challenge, because it's a challenge. Yoruba would say, how did PDP, which used to be a behemoth nationally, and even in that state, how did it lose ground? It lost ground because of internal wrangling. It lost ground because of ineffective conflict resolution mechanism. It lost ground because people could not bury their personal interests for the common good. You know, all of the things that affected PDP at the macro level have also affected them, even affected them in that state. You know that a lot of PDP stalwarts, a lot of stalwarts in PDP at that level, you know, fell out with
the former governor.
And a lot of people, some of us saw it coming. You know, we saw it coming. We were not surprised that
about the outcome of the election.
It wasn't Ighodalo's problem. It was not more of Ighodalo's problem. It was more Obaseki's problem. You know, Obaseki made a very huge contribution to the dismal performance of PDP in that election. So APC should learn from that.
Yes.
So whatever made PDP to fail, APC should avoid.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. All right, we need to go on this quick break. And when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go anywhere. Still Journalist Hangout.